So we decided, because Exodus 11 is such a small chapter, that we would tackle 11 and 12 in one Saturday. And then it turned out 12 was huge and there was so much to talk about. So we ended up going like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. But we're going to try to put it all in one video. Unless this one turns out to already be like 12, then we'll make 12 separate. So, chapter 11. The Lord said to Moses, "Yet one plague more I will bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will drive you away completely. Speak now in the hearing of the people, that they ask every man of his neighbor and every woman of her neighbor for silver and gold jewelry." And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. Right? So Moses had respect, right? He did previously. Now again, he's got some respect. Verse 4, so Moses said, "Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out in the midst of Egypt, and every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on the throne, even to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle. There shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there has never been, nor ever will be again." And so this was something we kind of spent a little bit of time talking about, was just the fact that when else has this happened, right? All these plagues, God said, this has never happened before and it'll never happen again. Just like the flood, right? The flood was the great reset. Never happened before, never happened again. And so you see this pattern, right? Sin is built up. This will never happen. This has never happened before and it will never happen again. Where was that at? Verse 7, but not a dog shall growl against any of the people of Israel, either man or beast, that you may know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, "Get out, you and all the people who follow you. And after that I will go out." And he went out from Pharaoh in a hot anger. So Moses is saying, dude, all the people of Egypt are going to come and beg me. They're going to drop at my feet and beg me to take my people out of Egypt. They're not bowing at your feet. They're bowing at my feet, begging me to take my people out of here. And he's representing God in all of this, right? Verse 9, then the Lord said to Moses, "Pharaoh will not listen to you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt." Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go out of his land. So we haven't gotten there yet. This is in 12, but something we talked about here was like some of the Egyptians were probably like, yeah, what he's saying is true. All that stuff happened that he said was going to happen. This is going to happen. We need to listen. We need to do it. But because there were enough Egyptians that were talking about not doing it, or, Pharaoh and his people were like, nah, we ain't got to worry about it. We ain't got to worry about it. It ain't real. We got to worship our gods. That convinced them. It's just like the flood. God told them, hey, as long as you repent, turn from your sins, you can get on the boat. None of them did it. Why? There were people in the crowd that wanted to. Everybody around them was going, yeah, right, dude. Flood, rain, that much water? Nah, ain't going to happen. And so they convinced everybody else it wasn't going to happen. Look at our society. Look where we've come as a society. How quickly people will change their mind and believe what the media tells them, what social media, what influencers, what people tell them. They're just like, oh yeah, that. Or they go, man, what if? Oh, you're crazy. It's a conspiracy, right? This right now, Moses is the conspiracy theorist of the century of humanity. Noah was the conspiracy theorist of mankind. Now you've got a guy saying people are going to die. So we're 4 minutes in. Great. Let's hit chapter 12. Something we talked about here was how many days did all these plagues take from plague 1 until now? It was like, well, how long did all this stuff take, right? Was it, a month or two? Was it months? Did it take a year? Was it all done in 1 month, 30 days? And you'll see why that got brought up here in a minute. Chapter 12. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, This month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Tell all the congregation of Israel that on the 10th day of this month every man shall take a lamb according to their father's house, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for a lamb, then he and his nearest neighbor shall take according to the number of persons, according to what each can eat. You shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male a year old. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month. So, and the reason this got brought up was because you're talking about in 10 days, you're going to select the sheep. And then in 4 more days, on the 14th day, is when you're going to kill it, right? So just this is taking 14 days. What did the other plagues take? Verse 7, Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire, with unleavened bread and bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat any of its raw or boiled in water, but roasted, its head with its legs and its inner parts. And you shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn. In this manner you shall eat it, with your belt fastened, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. So, something we've kind of really talked about here was like, what does it sound like? It sounds like you're prepared for something. You're prepared to leave in a moment's notice. Why? Your belt's fastened, right? You're not chilling. You're not lounging. Your pants are ready to go. Man, where was that at? I just read it. Your sandals are on your feet. You don't have your shoes sitting by the door in case you got to get up and leave. No. I'm waiting for that call that, boom, it's go time. I'm not even going to waste time, put my shoes on. I'm going out the door. And your staff is in your hand. That's like a weapon, right? They use staffs to fight off things that were trying to attack their sheep, that protect their families from the wolf at the door, right? And you shall eat in haste. I'm eating fast because I don't know how much time I have. I might have 30 seconds. I might have 30 minutes. I might have till tomorrow. I don't know. And something that we talked about was like when we were overseas, how many times did we eat in flak, Kevlar, our rifle? We slept with our rifle slung around our arms. Our gear was always staged at the door. When we were out doing like LPOP listening posts and observation posts, you didn't take your boots off. You didn't take your flak off. You didn't take your helmet off. You had your gear on the whole time. You weren't chilling. You didn't kick your boots. There were times where we were in our sleeping bags with all of our gear on because you never knew. You never knew when we were going to fight. Sometimes we didn't even take sleeping bags. We just huddled up in a corner, freezing cold, because we didn't know. We didn't know when we were going to get that call or when that round was going to snap to where it was go time. And you didn't have time to put your boots on. You didn't have time to put your gear on and your Kevlar and grab your rifle and rack it and load it and put it back together. It was like you didn't know how much time you had. And so that's what is going on here. It's like you need to be ready to go at a moment's notice, right? I don't need you to be comfortable when you eat this. I don't need you to be comfortable in this moment. I need you to be ready to go. And that's us as Christians long term. We're not comfortable. Don't get comfortable in your sin. Don't get comfortable doing what it is you want to do. Be prepared. Be ready to go. Cut the sin out now. Stop dragging your feet. Stop waiting until it's convenient. Cut it out now, because if he shows up in 30 seconds, are you ready to go? Are you ready to leave? Think about the parable of the lamp and the oil, right? 8 of them go. 4 of them take the extra oil with them so they can keep their lamp burning. The other 4 are like, oh, we're running out of oil. We're going to go back and get the oil. And guess what? The door opens and they go into the wedding feast. And those 4 come back and the door's already closed. And they're beating on the door. Hey, you weren't ready. You weren't ready to go. You hadn't dropped off your sin yet. You haven't repented. You haven't turned from it. You're still living the way that you want to live. And I'm not saying you got to earn your way in. But if I'm sitting here saying I'm saved, why am I still living in sin? Right? Why am I still okay with it? I got to cut it out. I have to. I shouldn't be comfortable and I shouldn't be okay with it. I should be cutting it out. That's another conversation for a whole nother day about, oh, well, we're still going to fall. Why? Why focus on that? Why should I not be living in I'm set free? I'm free from it. And I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go right now. So I'm not going to dwell in it anymore. I've got my staff ready to go. I've got my belt fastened. I am ready to go. um, where were we? Verse 12. Verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. He's letting them know, I'm coming. And if you ain't got it up there and you don't do what I'm telling you to do, too bad. The blood lets me know. This shall be for you a memorial day, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. As a statute forever, you shall keep it as a feast. And we've started to, a group that we fellowship with has started to keep these feasts. And it is very spiritual, very moving, understanding and knowing why these feasts are so important. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven out of your houses. For if anyone eats when it is leavened from the first day until the seventh day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you shall hold a holy assembly, and on the seventh day a holy assembly. No work shall be done on those days, but what everyone needs to eat, that alone may be prepared by you. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For on this very day I brought your host out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as a statute forever. We should be remembering what God did for our people. In the first month, from the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. For 7 days no leaven is to be found in your houses. If anyone eats what is leavened, that person will be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he is a sojourner or a native of the land. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your dwelling places you shall eat unleavened bread. This whole chunk for us was being set apart, setting ourselves apart, being uncomfortable, right? Because we all have the leaven, we all have the bread. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and select lambs for yourselves according to your clans, and kill the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and touch the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. None of you shall go out of the door of his house until the morning. For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not allow the destroyer to enter your houses to strike you. You shall observe this rite as a statute for you and for your sons forever. And when you come to the land that the Lord will give you, as he has promised, you shall keep this service. And when your children say to you, What do you mean by this service? You shall say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover. For he passed over the houses of the people of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians, but spared our houses. And the people bowed their heads and worshipped. Then the people of Israel went and did so, as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. So they did. At midnight, verse 29, at midnight the Lord struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where someone was not dead. Then he summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, Up, go out from among my people, both you and the people of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone and bless me also. It's funny how he throws that in there, right? It's not just get out of here, also bless me when you do it, when you're talking to God. Verse 33, the Egyptians were urgent with the people to send them out of the land in haste, for they said, We shall all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls being bound up in their cloaks on their shoulders. The people of Israel had also done as Moses told them, for they had asked the Egyptians for silver, gold, jewelry, and for clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. And the people of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. 600,000 men. That doesn't include the women and children. So you're talking like, I think we did the math. If it was a basic family, man, woman, 2 kids, you're talking 2.4 million people. Because remember, the Israelites were outpopulating everybody and growing faster than everybody else. So let's say they had 3, 4, 5 kids. You're talking 3 million, 3 million plus. That's with 3 kids. 3 kids is 3 million. That's a lot of freaking people. Think about the trail that they would blaze, the indent that they would mark. The first people, they're just wandering. Everybody behind them is following a road. Be crazy. 38, a mixed multitude also went up with them, and very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough they had brought out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not wait, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. They didn't have anything prepared. They were waiting to leave. I don't know when I'm leaving, but we're just ready to go. We've got our dough. Let's get out of here. 40. The time that the people of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, on that very day, all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It was a night of watching by the Lord to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So this same night is a night of watching kept to the Lord by all the people of Israel throughout their generations. Verse 43. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, this is the statute of the Passover. No foreigner shall eat of it, but every slave that is bought for money may eat of it after they have circumcised him. No foreigner or hired worker may eat of it. It shall be eaten in one house. You shall not take any of the flesh outside of the house, and you shall not break any of its bones. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. If a stranger shall sojourn with you and would keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. Then he may come near and keep it. He shall be as a native of the land, but no uncircumcised person shall eat of it. There shall be one law for the native and for the stranger who sojourns among you. All the people of Israel did just as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron. And on that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their hosts. Boom, chapter 12. Massive reading that we went through. Now, couple of the things we talked about, and I don't remember some of these notes. It is now Thursday. We went over this Saturday. Think about, because they took all the gold and silver out of Egypt, right? Think about the weight of gold and silver that they had on carts, just the amount that they were carrying. Maybe it was in carts, whatever, it doesn't matter, the amount of weight that they hauled, extra weight, right? When I think about if I had to leave, right, somebody came and either forced me to leave or asked me, I was imprisoned and asked me to leave. Gold and silver is probably not the thing I'm taking. I'd probably be more worried about like food, water, like the essentials, right? So like gold and silver is not what I'm thinking about. They're taking, like, that's going to slow them down. If they were urgently leaving and had, oh man, we got to get out of here. But because Egypt was granting them access to get out of there, it wasn't we got to run as fast as we can. And it was, man, we're carrying all this stuff. We're good. Let's get out of here. Oh, yeah. So this was huge, right? So when God comes through, he delivers the Passover. Not only did they get delivered out of Egypt, right? Just like when Christ died on that cross, not only did that deliver us from going to hell, but when they left Egypt, they were given all the treasures. They were given all these blessings, right? Just like not only are we delivered out of hell, but then we're blessed with the opportunity to spend eternity in heaven, right? Again, foreshadowing, showing what is to come, right? Them leaving Egypt is us getting out of hell, right? Them getting all the silver and gold is us receiving heaven. Now, the gold and silver that they receive doesn't touch what we're going to receive when we get to heaven. But tell me, it wouldn't have been good enough just to not be a slave anymore. So not only are they not slaves anymore, now they're getting blessed as they're leaving. For us, it's good enough that I don't have to go to hell. But what's even greater, and this what shows the magnitude of God's love for us, is then we get heaven, right? So that's where that grace and mercy comes in, right? We don't get what we deserve. We deserve to spend eternity in hell. We don't get that, but then we get what we don't deserve. We get eternity in heaven, right? So we deserve hell, we don't get that. But then we get hit with what we don't deserve, which is uh, all the treasures and heaven, right? So they wanted out of Egypt. That should have been good enough for them. Not only did they get out of Egypt, but then they were given all these things to take with them and all these blessings and gold. Now, granted, we're going to hear them mumble here in a couple chapters. Oh, let's just go back to Egypt because they're ungrateful. And we sit there and go, how could you? And we'll talk about that. We do the same thing, right? Knowing that we get heaven, we grumble now, right? Even though we were saved from things and the things that we're delivered from and blessed with now, we miss that and we still grumble, which is wrong. I'm not saying it's okay, but it's wrong, right? And so all of this is foreshadowing us and all the before us and after us and just all these things. Everything God's doing then is almost like hey, keep an eye out because I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do something very similar here, and it's crazy. There's some notes here. I don't remember. I just know follow completely. Follow what God says 100%. Just do what He says 100%. Don't half follow. And there was something in there. I don't remember because I read through it and it's been a few days. But we talked about something about following completely, not halfway following, and being set apart from the world. That's easy. We already know that. If you've been watching any of these videos, you know separate yourself from the world. Um, oh. We were talking about like following God in this instance, right? And we say like we want God to come into our lives, and it'd be like if I go to somebody's house and they tell me, or better yet, I let somebody come into my house and stay at my house, and I say, hey, make yourself at home, eat the food in my fridge, have at it, my shower, my bed, rest. You, go ahead, make yourself at home. I got to go to work. I got to go to the gym. I'll be back. And when I come back, they're in my office, they're sitting at my desk, they're going through my checkbook, they're going through my bank account, and they're going, man, you spend a lot of money on some dumb stuff. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, what are you doing, dude? You in my office going through my finances? Like, well, you said make yourself at home. Yeah, but I didn't mean that. Yeah, but look, I'm noticing that you have this, like, we can clear some of this up. If you weren't spending this money on it, dude, don't worry about what I'm spending my money on. That's how we are with God, right? We say come into our life. We say we want you to come in and take over it and be 100% of our life, but we don't mean it, right? Just like we tell somebody, make yourself at home within reason, right? God, come into my life within reason. So it has to be a complete surrender, a complete takeover. And that's tough, right? But it shouldn't be that hard, especially because we know what we're getting and we know what we're not getting. We're not getting hell. And we're getting heaven, which is enough. So this was 2 chapters, a lot. Next week we're only going through 13, I do believe. I think we're only going through 1 chapter. 2 chapters was a lot, and there was so much going on. But it was powerful, and those 2 chapters went together very, very well. So that is the plagues. The Israelites are on their way out of Egypt. We got some exciting stuff coming up. Stay with us. Join us next week if you can. If not, we'll get you the next video. And please stop by the Forge on Teal Road. Check us out. Join us on the mat. God bless you guys, and we'll see you soon.